everybody, and welcome back to James's House of Rock. It's been quite some time, hasn't it? For what was supposed to be a brief hiatus, it has now been a year and a half, roughly. Our last episode before this was in March of 2020, featuring the amazing rapper Greyhound. I hope you guys all liked that episode, but here we are, back with Season 4, slightly different look. Pretty much the same, but that's okay. If you haven't seen the Greyhound episode, you should go ahead and watch it too. There's no continuity in this show, just gonna tell you, but that's okay. So one of the biggest things I want to just start off with is I'm really happy to be back and doing the show, and I missed you guys. I missed all of this. It is super weird even just looking at a camera right now in this studio because it's been so long. And although James's House of Rock as a show hasn't been taping in almost a year and a half, doesn't mean stuff hasn't been in the works or released. One of the biggest things that I definitely wanted to give you guys an update on, because it came out shortly after we stopped taping, was we released a collaborative EP. It was called JHR Jam Session, and you can listen to it on SoundCloud or YouTube, with more services hopefully to come soon. Essentially, it was an original EP full of songs from multiple guests that have been on the show, including our own director, Nicholas Ferris-Connolly. So I'm going to give a little bit of teaser here just for you guys to maybe prompt you to go listen to the full thing.
Of the Red Skull monster, I stay watch for the cops and imposters. Yeah, I got it locked. If you knock, I will box you.
I benefit from being alone. Perhaps benefit is the wrong word.
And that's just a taste of it. If you want to listen to the full thing, you can find either the links on our Instagram or on the More Information tab on the James's House of Rock website, jameshouseofrock.weebly.com. It was a lot of fun to make, and unfortunately, a lot of it had to be cut short. Because of the developing world events, of course. It was supposed to feature more artists that unfortunately had to cut out at the last second. However, I would like to officially announce that currently in the works is a Volume 2 of Jam Session as well, to hopefully feature more of the lovely guests we've had on this show. So if you have any interest in that, go support the first one. It'll show me that you guys want to see more. I definitely want to see more. The other big piece of news, and you guys can go and actually listen to this shortly after this episode is released, we are starting a brand new podcast. It's called JHR Backstage, and it'll be filmed also right here on Burlington Cable Access in their podcast studio, which is brand new during the 2020 year, which is absolutely great. Over there, we'll be talking about album releases and upcoming concerts, as well as going more in depth on our artist spotlight and album review corners. So, a big part of the original show was listing off the albums and the concerts that were coming up at the end of each episode. However, of course, the way that the show was taped, that was very hard to do because with how everything was being released, we either missed stuff or concerts came and went by the time the actual episode came out. So a podcast is going to be a little bit more of a quicker media now that we can stay more updated than we used to, just to reintroduce something that mattered so much to the original version of the show. I'm super excited for it. The first episode should be out alongside this episode here, whenever this episode is being aired. So if you want to check that out, you can go on our website again, jameshouseofrock.weebly.com. I'm sure you can also find it somewhere on BCAT's services. I haven't been told where they get posted yet, but it'll also be on our YouTube, the full audio of it as well, if that's something you're interested in listening to. So, more news that I'll talk about later, but first, I want to go to our artist spotlight, which today we'll talk about the amazing pop-punk band All Time Low.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Artist Spotlight. On today's episode, we'll be covering the pop-punk band All Time Low. The band is originally from Maryland, forming in 2003 with current members Alex Gaskarth, Jack Barocket, Zach Merrick, and Ryan Dawson. The band's name is derived from the song Head-On Collision by Newfound Glory, with the lyric being, "And it feels like I'm at an all-time low," which I thought was just incredibly interesting the first time that I had heard that, because even listening to Head-On Collision before learning that fact that's all I could think of was the name All Time Low. So it's kind of fun that that's actually where it came from. So the band has currently released 8 albums, with their most popular being their second album, So Wrong It's Right, containing the infinitely popular single Dear Maria Count Me In. You'd be at a miss to find any pop punk fan that has not at least heard Dear Maria Count Me In, let alone anyone who doesn't love it entirely. If there's anything that the band is known for, it's definitely that, which is completely understandable. However, the band has been around since obviously 2003 and has released many more albums since So Wrong It's Right that have all seen pretty good success, all going into the top 10 of the Billboard 200, which is a fantastic feat for most bands. Not a lot of bands can get to that level. The band started at Interscope Records, and then shortly after that moved to Hopeless Records for release of the Future Hearts album, and then just a little bit before 2020 announced that they would be moving to the pop-punk label Fueled by Ramen, which also hosts bands like Panic at the Disco and 21 Pilots and Paramore and Gym Class Heroes, so they fit right at home there. And on that label, they released Wake Up Sunshine, which was their 8th album on April 3rd, 2020, and it got fantastic reviews, which was very good for them. Currently, beyond Wake Up Sunshine, they have 2 singles out, Once in a Lifetime and PMA, featuring Pale Waves. And at the time of this recording, they are currently on tour for the Sad Summer Festival, which I think is actually just about to wrap up. So that's all today for the Artist Spotlight. Thank you guys for listening. And if you want to learn anything more about All Time Low or James House of Rock Artist Spotlight in general, you can visit our More Information tab on the James House of Rock website. And I'll see you guys all in the next episode. For now, we're going to go back to James with the main segment.
So that was actually our brand new version of our formats for Artist Spotlight and Album Review Corner that I wanted to give a try. I hope you guys like it. If I'm going to probably be working on them throughout the season to try and get them better and better. They're inspired by some of my favorite like YouTube style content. I figured it'd be something fun and new and fresh, that it wasn't just staring at my face for a half hour on this episode or however long it ends up being. So I absolutely love it. I absolutely love All Time Low too. They're a band that means a lot to me, so I wanted to make sure that they got a spotlight here too. There's somebody that if I was still doing like full episodes on people, they would have probably been one of the next ones to happen, although I'm more than happy with the interview style show that we have here. So actually, on that note, in terms of interviews, I am looking for guests of the show. I do definitely have some awesome people lined up for the rest of this season, but if you yourself are a musician, or you know a musician or a band, and you would like to come on the show, I'd love to have you. All I ask is that you send us an email at jameshouserock@gmail.com with a link to wherever I can find your music, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or wherever you post Bandcamp. So just send us your music, send us a little blurb about yourself as a band, and I would love to work out a time and a date for you to be on the show if you make what we would like. So absolutely head on to our website too. That'll be on the More Information tab along with everything else from this episode. Next little topic. All of this first episode, of course, will just be like updates because with the time crunch of me going back to school, as well as working on a couple of other personal projects that I may announce as they start to happen here on the show as well. This is just going to be a bunch of updates and little things that have been happening over the last year that we haven't been able to tape the show. And one of those big points is I would like to start doing some merch. So I have already done some merchandise for my general film and television company, Dueling Dragon Entertainment, and I would like to do some for James's House of Rock. If you guys have any ideas or if it's something that you would be interested in, again, you can email us at jameshouseofrock@gmail.com. I know I've been repeating that a lot this episode, but I definitely want to make it clear to anybody who's just tuning in with us now that if you have some ideas for stuff that you would like to see James's House of Rock-fied or whatever you want to call it, that was a terrible joke, I'd love to hear it. And you can see more updates on that probably through our website or through future episodes, as well as we'd probably be promoting some of it on JHR Backstage as well in the podcast. I personally have wanted to do merchandise for the show forever. I would love to do some really fancy and out there things. Budget is just a concern at the current moment, but you can keep an eye out for all of that in the future. The last little segment, of course, that I want to go through is our album review corner, which this album review corner is going to be focused on the Killers' 7th outing that just came out as of the taping of this a couple of days ago, called Pressure Machine. So we're going to jump to that, and I'll see you when we get back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Album Review Corner. On today's episode, we'll be covering the Killers' album, Pressure Machine. Now, the album just came out this last Friday as of the recording, and I've gotten the chance to listen to it a couple of times now, and I will say that it is a much different album, but I can't say that I don't like it. It does have some quirks, however. One of the biggest things that I'm not a huge fan of is the interview segments before each song. So the album is a concept album of sorts, all being about Brendan Flowers' hometown in Utah, and of which before each song he's got like these interviews with small town people of like just random things about like a train killing people and a whole bunch of other fun things that they're okay. They're entertaining enough, but it does really interrupt the flow of the music, and I'm not too big of a fan of it. I will say they did release a abridged version on Spotify without the interviews, and the album does flow a whole lot better without them. The other little gripe that I had with the album is that it's a much slower piece. Now, the Killers are no stranger to slow songs, such as like Be Still on Battleborn or any of the other slow songs throughout their career. However, like this one was all slow, other than like the last couple of songs on the album. And although that's not necessarily a bad thing, I listen to the Killers for like high energy stadium pop kind of things, and even Imploding the Mirage, which was still a bit of a slower album for them, had a lot of that aspect to it still. This one, however, is just a bit of a drift fest. Like even stuff like Runaway Horses and stuff like that is just it's such a depressing album, which I mean, there's definitely an audience for that, and there's even time and place that I would enjoy that, but it's just hard to put it on the car and like rock out to on my way to work or anything like that, because it's whatever. Like it's makes me sad before work. I'm already sad going to work. I don't want to get more sad. However, I will say the back half of the album, which is like tracks 7 through 11 or so only just a couple of them, do definitely embody more style of the Killers than the rest of the album, especially like In the Car Outside and stuff like that, which I absolutely love that song. That would definitely be my favorite of the album. I would say my least favorite is probably the very first track on the album, which I don't have the album in front of me at the time of this recording, but yeah, it's the very first track on the album. All in all, it's a valiant effort, and there's definitely a whole lot of thought put into these songs, and I like some of the lyrics. It's just not really the Killers album I was hoping for, especially when I heard that the two members that weren't present for the last album were coming back on for this album. I was hoping we would get something more akin to Battleborn or even Day and Age, which are my two favorite albums from them, but they've already announced that they're working on their 8th album, so hopefully we get something good next time. That is my hope. I would say I give Pressure Machine either a 2.5 or 3 stars out of 5, which I think I'm going to start using stars as my new rating system for these videos, but maybe it'll grow on me over time, and if it does, maybe I'll do an updated segment in a future episode. But for now, 2.5 to 3 stars out of 5 is going to be where I draw the line, and I think that's just about it for my review. I thank you guys all so much for being here, and if you have any albums that you want me to review, if you yourself have released an album and you want me to review it here on the show, I'd be absolutely happy to. Just leave a comment in the on YouTube when this uploads, or DM us on Instagram at James House of Rock, or even email us at jameshouseofrock@gmail.com. If you want to listen to Pressure Machine by the Killers yourself, or want to learn more about the Killers in general, you can find out more information on the More Information tab of the James House of Rock website, jameshouseofrock.weebly.com, where you can find all of the information from all of the things I talk about in each episode. That's about it for Album Review Corner for this episode, but I thank you all so much for being here, and we're going to go back to James in the main segment. Thank you.
So that just about wraps up all of our main segments of the show and all of the updates that I wanted to give out. There wasn't a ton to talk about, but there was some really fun things, such as the podcast, the merch, and the Jam Session EP. I've wanted to do that actually for the last couple of years, so I was happy. But the last little piece of news that I want to give to you guys, and the thing that's going to be most important moving forward, is that I am partnering with a previous guest that came on towards the end of the last season, Hero the MC, with his company, Bars Over Bars Media, to introduce JHR Jam Session Live. It'll be a attendable concert that'll be a charity event that is currently centered to maybe be in support for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Foundation. So there will be more updates on that. It'll probably be sometime around mid-September if all things go as planned. But of course, on Backstage and on our website and on the show itself, we'll have a lot more updates as it goes. If any of you are interested in donating or attending the show, we would absolutely love to have you. It'll be a showcase of a whole bunch of different types of genres of music, hopefully featuring a lot of my friends and a lot of the guests that have been previously on the show. So yeah, it'll be a fun event. Keep your eye out, keep your ears out, so on and so forth. We'll have more updates soon. So that's about all the major things that I wanted to talk about in this episode. This is going to be probably a much shorter episode than typical for James House of Rock. Hopefully the artist spotlight and the album review corner have given more than enough content. We'll be back with interviews and games and in the coming weeks in the future episodes. But it was lovely to talk to you guys again. It's lovely to be here in the studio again. And we can't wait for the future of James's House of Rock, whether it be through the podcast, through the show, through the charity live events, or anything in the future. So I'd love to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you guys all next week. Thank you.